President Trump will visit a tank factory in Lima, Ohio later this week, as new polls show industrial states in the Midwest could prove to be a challenge in 2020. Case in point, the recent closing of the General Motors plant in Lordstown, Ohio. Yesterday, the president tweeting out, because the economy is so good, General Motors must get their Lordstown plant open, maybe in a different form or with a different new owner fast. Toyota is investing $13.5 billion in U.S. Others, likewise, GM must act quickly. Time is of the essence. And for this, we bring in David Green, president of United Automobile Workers 1112, joining us from Ohio. Nice to see you, David. Appreciate it. The president's tweet, is it enough?
No, I mean, I don't think it has been enough, and I don't know that it will be.
All right, play you a soundbite from the president in Ohio a couple of weeks ago, not far from your location now. Take a listen.
I was looking at some of those big, once incredible job-producing factories, and my wife, Melania, said, "What happened?" I said, "Those jobs have left Ohio. They're all coming back. Don't sell your house."
All right, that was about 18 months ago, the president in Youngstown, Ohio. Is it bad enough now that people are selling their houses?
Yeah, Leland, we've had hundreds of people, probably 700, leave already this community and have moved on to other jobs throughout the country.
Any hope from what the president talked about somebody else picking up this plant, or is once this closing happened, your members out of a job for good?
Well, GM actually said that the plant is unallocated, and it's a very unique term. It's not listed in our national agreement. Our Vice President, Terry Dittis, will be sitting at the bargaining table with General Motors later this year, and this is, I think, where they're going to hash out exactly the fate of the Lordstown complex.
And when you say unallocated, difference is kind of irrelevant if you're out of a job and out of a paycheck, right?
Yeah, it's I think a legal term that was used because it's not in a national agreement. So unallocated seems to be a way that the corporation can get around the language that talks about closing or idling a facility.
Let's get down to the politics of this. President Trump came into office on the backs of union workers, Reagan Democrats, call them whatever you want. But in Michigan, also essentially in Western Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in Indiana, in Wisconsin. Have your members sort of given up on the hopes and promises from President Trump, or are they willing to stick with him through this despite losing their jobs?
You know, I think that's really just a matter of opinion. Some folks I know have switched gears, right, and thought, you know, when he came here and said all these great things, that, you know, they were on board with that. And the fact that we've seen our Kmart distribution center in Warren close, a hospital close out here, all these brick and mortar businesses are closing, and now unallocated status at Lordstown, which will affect really thousands of jobs in the supplier base around it. People are starting to wake up, you know, but part of it's ego too, right? I mean, if that's their guy, they're going to stick with him.
President Trump's coming to Ohio later this week. What would you want to hear from him vis-a-vis what he said in 2017 and now so many folks are out of a job, as you've talked about?
I'd like to hear him support the American Cars, American Jobs Act. I'd like to hear him talk about ways the policies can be changed, where we can go a little bit further to make it more profitable for companies like General Motors to do business here in the U.S. The tax cut actually incentivized corporations like that to pay less taxes on profits when they bring products in from outside our borders here. So we'd like to see some of that.
The pushback on this, sir, would be one of the reasons plants in Ohio are closing is because it's a lot cheaper to make these cars in Alabama or South Carolina or Tennessee, where you've got right to work and they don't have union labor.
Well, that's not true. I mean, General Motors has plants all over the country. They're UAW negotiated facilities. You know, you make $30 an hour, whether I'm in Ohio, Tennessee, Alabama. You know,
well, I mean, there's a reason though that the major foreign companies don't like dealing with the unions and go to states where they don't have to.
Well, they like to exploit workers. Workers just want to have a seat at the table. We don't want handouts. We just want a fair day's work for a fair day's pay.
All right. David Green with us from Ohio. David, thank you. Appreciate the perspective, and we'll wait to hear what the president says on Thursday.
Thank you.
Good to be with you, sir.